Part 36. I Can Break the Dimensional Wall. Author, Zhozhezi Jumiao. Chapter 352. After returning to the real world, Xiaoruo appeared in her room and received a reward from the system. As in the past, the reward this time, besides the Book of Heaven, also added a random animation world, and Xiaoruo drew her own reward without hesitation. Xiaoruo is very familiar with the drawing process. The system's random lottery draw is a random lottery draw. Xiaoruo won't be surprised if she gets any world. Soon, the new animation world information appears in Xiaoruo's mind. However, when Xiaoruo saw the name of the animation world, Xiaoruo let out a little surprise in her tone. Hey, what's going on in this animation world? After the extraction results appeared, Xiaoruo noticed that the animation sent to her by the system this time was actually an animation that she had never heard of. Xiaoruo feels that an old otaku like me who has read countless movies is generally famous or not. Even if he hasn't watched it, he should have heard of it, unless the animation is really not famous at all. Ding! Congratulations to the host for winning the animation world Half Demons Yasha Princess. Half Demons Yasha-ji, I have never heard of this animation, but the name of this animation feels a bit interesting. Xiaoruo curiously checked the contents of Half Demons Yasha-ji in her mind. After a while, Xiaoruo realized what was going on with this new animation. Half Demons Yasha-ji is actually the sequel of Inuyasha. There is such a thing, no wonder the names of the two animations are so similar, Xiaoruo said in surprise after knowing the truth. Only then did Xiaoruo realize that the reason why she hadn't heard about this animation was because it hadn't been released when she traveled through time. It's so real. The system can even draw animations released after I travel. It won't be endless after this. Wait a minute. Xiaoruo saw that there was only one episode of animation in her mind, and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. Why is there only one episode? Hasn't it been updated yet? But Xiaoruo didn't care so much. As a fan of the original Inuyasha, Xiaoruo first opened Half Demons Yasha-ji and watched the first episode completely. He remembered that when Boren Biography was the sequel to Naruto, it was sprayed in a mess when it came out. However, Xiaoruo's worries obviously did not happen. Half Demons Yasha-ji is obviously produced quite well, and it also takes care of fans of the original work. There are almost no obvious shortcomings in the first episode. As a sequel, the opening chapter is quite excellent. It was pulled out and a wave of memory killing came. Xiaoruo almost didn't fast forward, and watched the first episode completely. This sequel feels good. Xiaoruo was a little surprised. She didn't expect that a sequel could do such a good job at the beginning. Many scenes in the first episode evoke Xiaoruo's memories. There are too many classics in it, such as the irritable Iarguzi, the brave Kagome, the noble and glamorous Sesshomaru, and Kikyo who lives in everyone's lines. Xiaoruo has not forgotten that there are many viewers who have been waiting for the second season of Inuyasha. Xiaoruo originally thought that they would never be able to wait for it in this lifetime, but he did not expect the audience to be lucky enough to actually see the second season in their lifetime. When Xiaoruo changed out of her ancient clothes, put on her everyday casual clothes, and was about to open the door of her room, he keenly heard someone talking in the living room. It seemed to be the voice of his mother and Xiameng. They seem to be chatting about something, the discussion is very lively, and the voice is also very loud. After knowing that someone was at home, Xiaoruo didn't go out directly. After all, she disappeared for 2 days, and it didn't make sense to suddenly come out of the room at this time. But Xiaoruo is used to time travel. Every time she travels back, in order to avoid her family's suspicion, Xiaoruo jumps out of the window first, and then enters through the main entrance. Same this time. After jumping out of the window and walking around to the main entrance, Xiaoruo opened the door and walked in as usual. "Mom, I'm back," Xiaoruo shouted after entering the door. "Xiaoruo, you are back," Sioruo's mother heard her son's voice, and shouted to Sioruo loudly, with a hint of surprise in her tone, "Where have you been these few days? You are not at home for a few days, and you don't even know that there are guests at home. Just take a look and see who is coming." "Who's coming?" Hearing what her mother said, Sioruo suddenly felt something was wrong. He looked beside his mother, and then, Sioruo saw a maiden, Kikyo, wearing a red and white maiden costume, with a holy and beautiful face, sitting on the sofa in his home, with a temperament that was out of tune with the surroundings. A 2D character who shouldn't have appeared here appeared in his home. This scene looks a little weird. "Jiaja, why are you here?" Sioruo was taken aback. He was a little confused about how Kikyo came to the real world from the second dimension, and how she found her home. Kikyo should not have this ability. "Didn't you invite me over?" Kikyo said to Sioruo expressionlessly, as indifferent as she used to be, but to Sioruo's surprise, Kikyo actually spoke Chinese. Although the accent was a bit awkward, it was already at a communicative level. "When did you learn?" Sioruo's mother listened to Sioruo's words, and reprimanded Sioruo with some dissatisfaction. "Sioruo, how can you be so rude? People come all the way from Japan to see you. Now, why do you still have such an attitude? Also, didn't you ask Xiaoju to come here? Don't tell me you don't know, they came here with your invitation letter." "Invitation card." Sioruo reacted immediately. Kikyo took out a red invitation letter from her arms at the right time, shook it slightly at Sioruo, and slightly raised the corners of her mouth. At the same time, Kikyo's cold voice suddenly appeared in Sioruo's mind. It seemed that Kikyo used some kind of sound transmission technique to communicate with Sioruo mentally. What a powerful invitation! I felt the strange reaction in this invitation. After injecting spiritual power, it brought me here directly. It looks like some kind of item that can be teleported through space. Using this kind of thing as an invitation letter is really a big deal. By the way, it's a good thing that your home address and phone number are written on it, otherwise it would be really difficult to find your home. It turned out to be the system. At that time, Sioruo really sent an invitation letter to Kikyo in order to gather the number of people. At that time, Kikyo had a lot of free time, so he didn't say anything, and accepted the invitation letter. Sioruo thought that the invitation letter she gave to Kikyo was the same as King Ian's invitation letter. She stuffed a plane ticket in it and asked her to fly over by herself. Unexpectedly, the invitation letter was in the hands of people like Kikyo. It has the function of teleportation array. The system is sometimes too convenient, but if I remember correctly, there is still more than half a month before the agreed MW start time. Is it too early for Kikyo? At this time, Xiaomeng, who had been silent at the side, quietly moved to Sioruo's side, and said in a low voice with a hint of admiration. "As expected of my elder brother, it tastes different every time. You really dare to bring it home. And it's more beautiful every time, it's amazing." Xiaomeng is completely convinced. She used to be narcissistic and thought that she was a beautiful girl, but after seeing the girls her brother often brought back, she felt that she was of average appearance now, and she was beaten a lot more low-key. Sioruo. Kikyo is indeed the group of girls with the highest looks, with top-notch painting style and temperament. Compared with Akiyama Mayo's cuteness, Kikyo is a bit more fairy-like and holy. Her temperament is beyond the reach of ordinary two-dimensional girls. Sioruo's mother is quite satisfied with Kikyo at this time. She doesn't even need to ask Sioruo's grandmother to give Kikyo a look. What's the use of such a beautiful girl? Even in Sioruo's mother's mind, she imagined how good-looking her grandson would be in the future. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Miao. Chapter 353. Although Sioruo didn't expect Kikyo to be a guest at home, it was not a big problem. After all, Sioruo knew Kikyo's character, so there would be no trouble. However, seeing Sioruo standing there blankly, Xiaoruo's mother glanced at him and shouted at Xiaoruo. Xiaoruo, what are you still standing there for? It's noon soon, and lunch isn't ready yet. You just came back. Hurry up and show Xiaoju your cooking skills. I've already bought all the dishes. Haven't you eaten yet? That's fine. I'll cook at noon today. You guys wait here for a while. Xiaoruo naturally had no objection to her mother's order, and walked obediently to the kitchen alone, and began to prepare ingredients for cooking. However, when she was about to reach the kitchen, Xiaoruo turned her head, glanced at her mother, and said in a worried tone, "Mom, don't talk nonsense to others, we are just friends." The relationship between Xiaoruo and Kikyo is considered to be a relatively good friend. At that time, in the era of monsters, Kikyo had almost no friends except for eliminating demons. Some delicious past, the two often barbecue and chat together, the relationship is pretty good. Of course, it didn't go any further. He was really worried that his unreliable mother would say something nonsense to Kikyo, and he would be embarrassed by doing so. Xiaoruo's mother heard her son say this, and her tone was a little dissatisfied. "What can I say nonsense, you cook your meal." "No." Seeing Xiaoruo obediently cooking, Kikyo showed a look of surprise in his eyes, as if he didn't expect Xiaoruo at home to be such a good boy who listened to his mother. The corners of Kikyo's mouth curled up slightly, and this trip unexpectedly yielded a good result. Xiaoruo's mother also noticed that after her son came back, Zhujiao kept her eyes on her son, although the son said that this girl and him are ordinary friends. "Ordinary friends, hee, ordinary friends, the little girl came all the way from Japan to find you, and even if they are really ordinary friends, they still have the potential to continue to develop. She thinks that this little girl called Kikyo has the potential to be her daughter-in-law. After all, she saw for herself that this Japanese girl named Kikyo was indeed a good girl. Not only was she pretty, she also looked quiet and had a good temperament. More satisfied. Miss such a girl, where to find the next one? If there is one dissatisfaction, it is the red and white witch costume that the other party is wearing. It is a bit too ostentatious to wear outside, and it feels a little strange, but this is not a big problem. After all, she does not understand foreign customs. And it's pretty nice to wear." Xiaoruo's mother looked at the platycodon, more and more satisfied. "Xiaoju, your Mandarin is really good. It must be difficult to learn Chinese," Xiaoruo's mother asked. In her opinion, Xiaoju speaks Chinese so well that she is also a good student who loves learning in school. "Student? I just started learning recently, and I haven't learned it for a long time," Kikyo shook her head. In fact, she only started learning Chinese after she knew that Xiaoruo was from Huaguo. He is extremely intelligent and can communicate normally within 2 months. "You can speak so well at the beginning of learning, what a clever boy." Xiaoruo's mother was a little surprised. She didn't expect Xiaoju to be so smart. Such a smart child, the child born should also be very smart. Kikyo didn't know her answer at all, and the other party made up something in his head, but Kikyo was stared at by Xiaoruo's mother's soft eyes, and she felt a little restrained inexplicably. Kikyo has been wondering for a long time why he just chatted with Xiaoruo's mother, but felt a little pressure, although it was only a little bit, but it was enough to make Kikyo puzzled. Even if she met some powerful city lords, or faced the vicious big monsters for thousands of years, she didn't feel this way, but she met them here. "Is it okay for Xiaoruo to cook alone? Do you want me to help?" Kikyo looked at the kitchen, as if she wanted to get up and leave here. However, before she could stand up, she was held down by Xiaoruo's mother. "Kikyo." Xiaoruo's mother still kept her soft eyes on Jiqiao. "Leave him alone, just wait here. Xiaoruo's cooking can be said to be better than those top chefs outside. By the way, you it's Xiaoruo's friend, have you ever eaten the food he cooked?" Kikyo nodded lightly, as if recalling the scene of eating with Xiaoruo at that time. Xiaoruo would come to the house to make hot pot for Feng from time to time. In the Warring States period when food was scarce, it was indeed a treat to eat delicious hot pot, something to enjoy. Well, I've tried it. Xiaoruo's hot pot is delicious. Hearing what Kikyo said, Xiaoruo's mother's eyes lit up. Xiaoruo has cooked for her herself, so it seems that the relationship between the two is really good. No wonder she came all the way from Japan. What's delicious about hot pot is the taste of the base ingredients. Xiaoruo's home-cooked dishes are his specialty. I don't think you have tried them before, Xiaoruo's mother continued. No. Kikyo shook her head. She vaguely remembered that when she and Xiaoruo met for the first time, Xiaoruo's special skills were cooking instant noodles and stewed dumplings, which were also tastes that Kikyo would remember. If you haven't eaten it, then you will have a good meal today, Xiaoruo's mother said, and her eyes suddenly noticed the white and smooth wrist of the platycodon. There was nothing there. By the way, look at my memory, I almost forgot. Xiaoruo's mother slapped her thigh and stood up suddenly, as if she remembered something important. Xiaoju, wait here for a while, I'll get you something. After saying that, Xiaoruo's mother walked towards her room, while Jijiao was at a loss, not knowing what Xiaoruo's mother was going to do. Xiaomeng watched her mother's movements from the side, and the corner of her mouth twitched. No way. She was playing with her mobile phone just now, but Xiaomeng's mind was not on the mobile phone with Ben. She had been eavesdropping on the conversation between her mother and Kikyo. Seeing her mother get up, she naturally knew what her mother was doing. She naturally knew about the box of bracelets inherited from her ancestors. About a minute or so, Xiaoruo's mother walked over with a small box with a smile all over her face, and sat in front of Kikyo. She took out a very delicate jadeite bracelet from the small box. Xiaoju, look, you have come all the way to our house. As an elder, I have to express something. This bracelet is my gift to you. It's not good, it's too expensive. Kikyo felt that the jade bracelet was a bit expensive and wanted to decline. It's just that Kikyo's cold personality can't stand up to Xiaoruo's mother's enthusiasm. Just as she was thinking of some reason to refuse, the other party had already put the jade bracelet on Kikyo's wrist. The action was so quick that Kikyo never gave Kikyo a chance to refuse. It's so beautiful, Xiaoruo's mother nodded in satisfaction as she looked at the bellflower wearing the jade bracelet. Faced with Xiaoruo's mother's enthusiasm, Jijiao had no choice but to accept it. However, Jijiao, who has been the pillar of the village since childhood and is respected by countless people, experienced the feeling of facing elders for the first time. For some reason, Kikyo felt a little heavy wearing this bracelet on his wrist. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Miao. Chapter 354. A beautiful bracelet. Kikyo touched the bracelet she just got. Even if she was not familiar with bracelets, she thought it should be an expensive piece of jewelry. Kikyo doesn't even have a hobby of makeup. She has always been a simple maiden and has never been in the habit of wearing jewelry. However, under the enthusiasm of Xiaoruo's mother, she still wears an emerald bracelet on her hand. She made up her mind and returned it to Xiaoruo when she left, so that he could go back. It's fine if you like it, Xiaoruo's mother looked at Kikyo with kind eyes, as if she was looking at her own daughter. The more I look at it, the more I am satisfied. Such a beautiful and temperamental little girl, even if she has nothing to do with Xiaoruo, is still very pleasing. If only I had such a daughter. No matter where it is pulled out, it will be more face-saving. Kikyo was a little embarrassed to be stared at, and the pressure from the elders was getting bigger and bigger. By the way, Xiaoju, what do you think of our Xiaoruo? Xiaoruo's mother continued to look at Jujin and asked. This. Kikyo is not stupid, even if she didn't think about it at first, but slowly, the other party made it so obvious that she also realized that Sioruo's mother seemed to be trying to match her and Sioruo. After all, I and Sioruo are very similar in age, so it is understandable for the elders to do so. After noticing this, Kikyo was a little overwhelmed. This was the first time she encountered this situation, as if she came here to meet her parents. Myself and Sioruo? How can this be? Kikyo wanted to explain that it was impossible for him and Sioruo, but it was difficult to say so bluntly, so he fell silent and said nothing. He stopped answering Sioruo's mother's questions, and there was such a weird atmosphere in the living room. What do you think of Sioruo? Kikyo suddenly popped up such an idea in his mind. Match yourself and Sioruo? I and Sioruo should be considered good friends. Kikyo frowned. She had never thought of such a thing before, but because of Sioruo's mother's reminder, Kikyo suddenly recalled the past when she was with Sioruo. The past scenes were recalled, and Kikyo began to use his own perspective to look back on what kind of person Sioruo was. How to say? It seems, I haven't been with Sioruo for a long time, and I haven't known each other for a long time, but when we get along, those memories are quite warm. In the daily routine of eliminating demons, some interesting memories are Sioruo's. If you bring it to yourself. Sioruo is a very interesting person. Being with Sioruo, it seems that the mission on my shoulders is not so heavy. He once ate barbecue and hot pot with Sioruo, and brought a lot of delicious things, which added some embellishment to the daily life of eliminating demons. Even if his body smelled of blood from monsters, he would not have any disgust. And Sioruo likes to take out the guitar instrument to sing to herself. Sioruo has a nice voice, a nice singing voice, and the lyrics are also nice. Missing Through Time and Space, this is Sioruo's favorite song. Sioruo also likes to watch the moon by herself. Although she doesn't know the meaning of watching the moon, the Platycodon is still doing it. When watching the moon with herself, Sioruo seems very happy. Sioruo would come here to tell stories to Feng from time to time and bring some gifts. Sioruo would also take care of Feng when she was not at home. Sioruo's strength is also very good. Sioruo can easily deal with ordinary little monsters. With him at home, I am very relieved. Feng also likes him very much. After Sioruo left, Feng would often catch himself and ask, when will brother Sioruo come again? After finishing her exorcism, Sioruo will also prepare meals in the dilapidated shrine where she lives, and with a gentle smile, say to herself, welcome home after returning from exorcism. At that moment, I was really touched. He even thought that it would be a good idea to have another man in the family. Of course, it was just a momentary thought. Only. By the way, why does Sioruo want to do so many things to me? A strange idea suddenly appeared in Kikyo's mind. Why do so much to yourself, for no reason, without expecting anything in return? Simply want to do good? Is it really? It's more dangerous to stay with yourself, isn't it? In the past, when she was with Sioruo, Kikyo didn't think about this matter, but now that she thinks about it carefully, there are still some doubts in it. Sioruo has been looking for herself. Why? Kikyo has met many people, everyone has their own ambitions, and they are moving forward for their own goals. There are very few people like Sioruo who have no purpose, no return, and no purpose. But Kikyo's intuition told her that Sioruo is not the kind of aimless person, he has his own ambitions. What is Sioruo's ambition? Kikyo once suspected that Sioruo would come for the Jade of the Four Souls, but after observing, Kikyo did not find that Sioruo was greedy for the Jade of the Four Souls, and even had a kind of disdain for the Jade of the Four Souls whose attitude, everything he does comes from the heart. Kikyo will not be wrong about this. At that time, after realizing that Sioruo was not for the Jade of the Four Souls, Kikyo no longer doubted Sioruo. In Kikyo's view, there is nothing more important than the Jade of the Four Souls. Sioruo doesn't even look up to the Jade of the Four Souls, so what else can attract him? But thinking about it now, Sioruo's goal is not the Jade of the Four Souls, but something else. Compared with the Jade of the Four Souls, in Sioruo's eyes, what is more important is his ambition. Thump. Kikyo's heart skipped a beat, and Kikyo, who had always had a calm expression on his face, unexpectedly showed a surprised expression. Kikyo looked in the direction of the kitchen in surprise. If it wasn't for this reason, Sioruo didn't need to do this. Everything that seemed meaningless before Kikyo suddenly became meaningful now. What Sioruo did before, looking for herself to enjoy the moon and sing, isn't it the pursuit of girls? It's just that in the Warring States period, Sioruo's way of pursuing was a little too subtle, so that he was so slow that he didn't notice it. And the invitation letter this time, I also hope that I can come. Am I the one you want more than the Jade of the Four Souls? Kikyo didn't know what kind of expression she had on her face at this time. She had always thought that Sioruo was a friend, but she didn't expect that Sioruo still had such thoughts. Although she saw through Sioruo's ambition, it was strange that Kikyo didn't show any disgust at all, and even felt her face was a little hot. At this moment, a strong fragrance spread to Kikyo's nose. This kind of fragrance she had never smelled before. Just smelling the fragrance, Kikyo felt that her saliva was constantly secreting. Kikyo immediately thought of Sioruo, who was cooking in the kitchen. Thinking of this, she was a little surprised that Sioruo's cooking skills were so good, and she could smell such a tempting fragrance from such a long distance. The scent came first, and Sioruo's voice came over. Dinner time. Immediately afterwards, Sioruo came out of the kitchen wearing an apron. Together, Sioruo and Xiameng brought the prepared dishes to the table. The dishes Sioruo cooks are simple home-cooked dishes, such as mapo tofu, green pepper shredded pork, kung pao chicken and so on. After all, what he learned at Juxialu was home-cooked dishes, and he was the most proficient at cooking them. Sioruo had never cooked such legendary dishes as Cosmic Sumai and Comet fried rice. But even simple home-cooked dishes, with Sioruo's cooking skills added, are already extraordinary. Its elegant fragrance can be smelled by people in the living room even if the door is closed in the kitchen. Did you make this, Sioruo? It smells so good. Kikyo swallowed a mouthful of saliva and asked, usually looking at Sioruo, she doesn't look like a great cooking master at all, but this time I came to Sioruo's house, I didn't expect to see such a side. Sioruo looks very homely in his apron, I really don't know what else he can do. The dishes on the table are all authentic Chinese dishes. In the eyes of Kikyo, these dishes seem to be a little different from normal dishes. They seem to emit a faint light. This is the first time Kikyo saw this strange sight. Curious. I didn't do it, who else could be here? Sioruo looked at Kikyo's surprised expression, a little funny, since Kikyo left the Warring States period, the expression on his face has increased, which is a good phenomenon. Kikyo couldn't bear the temptation of the aroma of the food, picked up a piece of mapo tofu with chopsticks, and bit down lightly. The crystal clear tofu melted in the mouth, and the moment it was eaten, it was as if a volcano erupted in Kikyo's mind, and a sense of happiness surrounded Kikyo's body. It seems that the most beautiful thing in the world is this. Eating food can give you a feeling of happiness. Sioruo's mother also noticed Jijiao's expression, she was a little proud, our Sioruo's cooking skills are pretty good, there are really not many men who are good at cooking like him, Xiaoju should take good care of it. Kikyo was a little embarrassed when he heard such straightforward words. That's the kind of thing she's worst at coping with. When Sioruo heard her mother's words, she couldn't help but interrupted, Mom, I've already said it. Kikyo and I are just friends, so stop talking nonsense. Sioruo's mother gave her son a blank look, okay, I won't talk anymore, it's time to eat. After being rescued by Sioruo, Jijin breathed a sigh of relief. It was really awkward just now, but fortunately, the food was really delicious, and Jijin's chopsticks also picked up quickly. It didn't take long for the dishes on the table to be eaten up, and Jijin also had feeling of fullness. Food really has a unique charm, and the glowing food is even more so. After eating, the sense of happiness will not fade away. Once you experience this wonderful feeling, you want to eat it like this for the rest of your life. When I think of such delicious food, I may never be able to eat it again, and I will unconsciously feel a sense of loss. What should I do if I can't eat anymore? Kikyo looked up at Sioruo, and she suddenly felt that what Sioruo's mother said was indeed very reasonable. After lunch, Sioruo went to clean up the kitchen utensils and wash the dishes, while Xiameng and her mother went shopping with Kikyo, saying they were buying some daily necessities and clothes for Kikyo. After all, Kikyo will live for a while. Sioruo originally wanted to ask Kikyo some questions, but in the end she couldn't find the time to talk to Kikyo alone. However, he could tell that Kikyo didn't intend to go shopping, but was pulled over because it was inconvenient to refuse. Faced with this situation, Sioruo could only sigh. Forget it, Kikyo is not very familiar with modern life anyway, so let her have a good time. After all, she worked so hard before and never had a good time. Although his mother is not very reliable, but Sioruo can still trust her sister. Xiamen will definitely not let Kikyo get bored. So after Sioruo finished packing the kitchen utensils, she left home first, went to see the preparation activities of MW, and checked to see if there was anything missing. After roughly looking at the preparations for the event, it was already past 8 o'clock in the evening when Sioruo came back. However, Sioruo pushed open the door, and unexpectedly found that only Kikyo was sitting on the sofa watching TV in the living room. At this time, Kikyo was wearing pink cartoon pajamas, which Xiamen might have bought for her. A holy maiden like Kikyo was unexpectedly cute in such cartoon pajamas. What was playing on TV was a costume movie, and Kikyo watched it with gusto. Kikyo seemed to have just taken a bath, with long black hair hanging down her shoulders. When she saw Sioruo coming in, she just glanced at him lightly, and then turned her attention to the TV. "Why are you here alone?" Sioruo asked, looking at Kikyo who was alone. "They are all going to sleep, Auntie asked me to wait for you here," Kikyo replied in a flat tone. "Sleep? Go to bed so early?" Sioruo frowned. He keenly felt that after he came back, there seemed to be a faint sound coming from his mother's room, and the door seemed to be opened a crack. At this time, the costume drama on TV just ended and the ending song entered. Seeing that an episode was over, Kikyo picked up the remote control and began to change channels. With his skilled appearance, he seems to watch TV a lot. Kikyo looked a little cute watching TV seriously. Sioruo originally wanted to ask her why she came so early, but was a little embarrassed to disturb her, so she sat on the other side of the sofa and watched TV with her. After Kikyo glanced at Sioruo, he didn't care about him anymore. At this time, a white-haired boy with red clothes and animal ears appeared on the TV set in Sioruo's house. "Inuyasha. Sit down." When did Inuyasha air on TV? The moment Sioruo saw Inuyasha, he was stunned for a second, and the next moment, he disappeared in place and appeared directly in front of Kikyo, blocking Kikyo's sight. Kikyo was startled when a person suddenly appeared in front of him. She completely forgot what was on the TV just now, and just looked at Sioruo who suddenly appeared in front of her in doubt. "What is this for? I can break the dimensional wall." Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 355. Because Sioruo suddenly appeared on the screen of Inuyasha on TV, she suddenly jumped in front of Kikyo, blocking Kikyo's sight. This scene was seen by Sioruo's mother who was peeking from the side. Originally, she heard that her son had come back, and she also knew that Kikyo was in the living room, so she came here secretly, wanting to eavesdrop a little bit on the relationship between her son and that girl. At noon today, although it seemed that the two of them were acting very normally, Relying on her own intuition, she felt that her son and the little Japanese girl could not be just ordinary friends as they said. Compared with ordinary friends, it may be more complicated, which can be seen from some details of Kikyo's speech. She can guarantee that the little girl named Kikyo is interested in her son. There is no reason, it is just a woman's intuition. So she sneaked to the side of the living room, wanting to eavesdrop on what the two of them would say. If her son didn't know, she needed to go out and help him. Sioruo's mother was a little emotional, and it was pitiful to say that Sioruo had grown up now, and she would not discuss some things with her mother, and needed to eavesdrop on her own to understand her son. I really broke my heart for my son. However, because I peeked from the side, I could only see a little bit vaguely. So she saw an astonishing scene. The scene seemed to be that Kikyo was watching TV, and her son first pretended to watch TV together, and then suddenly broke out, like a hungry wolf, turned into a black shadow facing him. Kikyo jumped on it. The movement was so fast that only a black shadow could be seen. This. As expected of a young man, this is too urgent. Yeah, what is this for? There are still people at home, and your sister is still doing homework in the bedroom. In the living room, the two looked at each other. Facing Kikyo's puzzled gaze, Sioruo was also a little embarrassed, and her actions were indeed a little sudden. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. It's just that the cartoon Inuyasha was still playing on the TV behind him. Sioruo couldn't move his position, so he had to grab the TV remote control from Kikyo's hand and turn off the TV. Fortunately, it was only a picture of Inuyasha and Kagome just now. At this time, Kikyo didn't know them at all, and didn't reveal anything. Jiangsu, you should go to bed early, you must be tired after shopping for so long today. Sioruo subconsciously came up with such an excuse. Sleep. Why are you so strange, do you have something to say? Kikyo looked at Sioruo's appearance at this time, thinking that he had something important to tell him, but he just grabbed the remote control to turn off the TV. Sioruo's strange behavior aroused Kikyo's suspicion. Sioruo heard what Kikyo said, and her eyes drifted unconsciously. However, his hesitation made Kikyo feel more and more that Sioruo was hiding something from him, because his behavior revealed a trace of abnormality. Could it be that after I arrived at his house, Sioruo finally couldn't hold back and was going to attack herself? Don't blame Kikyo for thinking too much. In fact, his behavior just now is not in line with his previous style, and Kikyo has observed such a big movement now, as well as his flustered emotions. Now Kikyo is staring at Sioruo's eyes. Although her expression is very calm, she also feels a little bit at a loss in her heart. She had never experienced such a scene, and she suddenly felt that it was her major mistake to come to Sioruo's house impulsively, and she would rather kill 100 monsters than come here. If Sioruo proposes to me in a while, if I refuse, will I have no friends in the future? Kikyo is still in the period when she has a girlish heart, she has not experienced the betrayal of the original work, and her mind is like a normal girl, starting to think about some things. Although a lot of things were in his mind, the expression on Kikyo's face remained unchanged, still as flat as water. Sioruo didn't know what Jijiao was thinking at this time. He just hoped that Jijiao would stop watching TV, but he didn't know what excuse to make. Ahem. In the end, it was Sioruo's mother's coughing that helped Sioruo out. No way, she just eavesdropped on the side of the living room, first saw her son pounce on that Platycodon girl, then saw her son turn off the TV, and said something like go to bed early. She felt that if she didn't come out, there might be some problems. After all, Xiaomeng was still doing her homework in her room. It would be embarrassing if she met her when she came out. Sioruo, you are back, what are you two doing in the living room? Sioruo's mother pretended to see the two of them by chance, and asked in surprise. Mom, I'm going to sleep now. Sioruo breathed a sigh of relief when he saw his mother appear. He had already heard his mother staying aside for a long time, but he didn't point it out. Xiaoruo turned to look at Ji Xiao. Jiao Xiao, it's so late, you should go to bed earlier. Well, Kikyo nodded slightly, stood up, and walked to her room, but when Kikyo left, she took a deep look at Xiaoruo. Xiaoruo's mother looked at the two young men who went back to their rooms, and nodded in satisfaction. Well, young people still can't be impatient. She has now seen how the relationship between this Kikyo girl and her son could be ordinary friends. After returning to her bedroom, after Kikyo tidied her hair, she didn't go to sleep directly, but went to the window, sat on the windowsill, and opened the window to let the wind blow in from the outside. For some reason, she felt a little tight in her chest. In the end, did he still not say it? Kikyo looked at the scenery outside the window. It was obviously night, but because of the countless lights, the world was still very bright. If it was in the Warring States period, at this point in time, it would be almost the time when you can't see your fingers. The cold wind was blowing, and the breeze was blowing Kikyo's hair, which made Kikyo regain a familiar feeling. The newly modernized room made Kikyo feel a little uncomfortable. Xiaoruo's flustered look just now clearly concealed something, but in the end, she didn't say it. Why not speak out? Say it, what will happen? Unexpectedly, Ji Jiao suddenly felt a little lost. This time when he came to Xiaoruo's house, Ji Jiao found himself seeing many things clearly. Just like what Xiaoruo's mother said, are Xiaoruo and herself really ordinary friends? Do you have the legendary feeling for Xiaoruo? Kikyo just recalled it a little, and there was an answer in his mind. I have. Should have been. Just when I dragged my exhausted body back to the dilapidated shrine where I lived with a longbow in hand, Xiaoruo made hot soup, sat with Feng, and said welcome home to herself. That moment. Even if it is a cold and ruthless witch, dragging her exhausted and bloody body, facing someone who is waiting for her at home with ready meals, and saying welcome home to herself, there is no way for her to be unresponsive to such a warm scene. At that moment, my heart was moved. Compared with Xiaoruo's heart, it is more because of a warm scene, because of the desire for such a warm scene. For me who feels the evil spirit of monsters every day and doesn't know when he will die, Xiaoruo has brought changes to my life. Every time Xiaoruo leaves, I always think about when he will come again. The feeling is not deceiving. Even working hard to learn Chinese, after receiving Xiaoruo's invitation letter, before the date came, thinking of meeting Xiaoruo, she rushed over subconsciously. All of this shows one thing, that I'm likely to have been moved. In the eyes of witches and witches. In the eyes of Kikyo, Xiaoruo is an excellent person, gentle and kind, handsome and kind-hearted. His younger sister Feng also likes him very much. Kikyo also has a good impression of Xiaoruo. Compared with vicious monsters, the people in the village compared with the villagers and those mercenary soldiers, there is indeed no one better than Xiaoruo. If I were an ordinary woman, it would be a good life to marry Xiaoruo and become Xiaoruo's wife. When being matched by Xiaoruo's mother, when receiving a gift bracelet from Xiaoruo's mother, she might be very happy. Maybe there will be a bright and happy future. Living in an era of peace, without hunger and cold, there are mechanical means of transportation, you can go to various places to see the scenery, you don't have to shoulder the mission of saving the world, you don't have to worry about your own safety, and you don't suddenly appear in the dark the monsters in the movie, without blood and killing. Xiaoruo's cooking skills are very good, you can eat very delicious food, you can go shopping with Xiaoruo's sister, you can buy street snacks, you can watch TV dramas, live in a house with heating, and someone will say welcome go home. Of course, that was the case when she was an ordinary woman. It is impossible for him and Xiaoruo to be together. As a witch, Kikyo has long known that getting married and having children has nothing to do with her. She will spend her life alone with the Jade of the Four Souls. This is her mission, like a curse. I want to eliminate demons for the rest of my life. As for Syoruo, the man who broke his daily life. Kikyo took a deep breath, shook his head, with a hint of sadness in his expression. No, the responsibility of the witch is just an excuse. There are no powerful monsters in the modern world, and the mission of protecting the Jade of the Four Souls no longer exists. The fundamental reason is, isn't he with Tsubaki? Kikyo knows what Chun and Syoruo did when they were together, even if she doesn't want to think about it, such things always exist. Therefore, Kikyo never thought about the future of being with Syoruo at all. What is this, playboy, stinky man, who wants to step on two boats, hug left and right, and obviously has his own woman? Why do you still come here to provoke me? Still, you want me to be a kid? Kikyo stood by the window, looked up at the moonlight hanging in the night sky. Her gaze became dark and indifferent. Under the moonlight, her expression became colder and colder. At this moment, a dark cloud covered the moon. Kikyo's face was also covered, shadows covered it. Kikyo sat blankly by the window for half an hour, as if trying to understand something. The corners of Kikyo's mouth curled up slightly, showing a mocking smile. Is this the first relationship experience? Kikyo put her immature white hand on her chest, feeling the beating of her heart. So sad. Why? At this time, Syoruo, who was not far away, had no idea what Kikyo was thinking in his heart, and it was impossible for him to think of such a thing. Syoruo fell asleep after taking a bath. Holding Tom in her arms, Syoruo slept soundly, completely unaware that in the room where the orange terrier was, the orange terrier was still blowing cold wind on the windowsill. The next morning, Syoruo woke up early. It's just that as soon as Syoruo went out, she saw Kikyo on the other side, pushing open the door and coming out. Syoruo didn't know why, but she always felt that Kikyo's hair was a little messy. What's the matter? Did you not sleep well last night? Syoruo asked Kikyo. Maybe it's a bad pillow. Kikyo looked away. After Syoruo just glanced at Kikyo, she didn't think about anything else, but asked. That, I'm just curious about how you came so early. It's obviously more than half a month before the invitation letter is issued. Why, can't you come early? Kikyo replied calmly, I just tried the function of the invitation letter a little bit, and then I came here. Moreover, without your approval, this invitation letter does not seem to have the effect of returning. Speaking of this, Kikyo's tone became a little colder. If I knew it earlier, I shouldn't have come here. So that's how it is. By the way, did you enjoy going out today? I should be the one to entertain you, Syoruo asked to Kikyo. Yeah, Kikyo nodded lightly, as if remembering what happened when she went shopping today. Your family is very kind and takes good care of me. They bought me a lot of things, including clothes. I said I don't need to buy so many, but they still bought me a lot. It's okay, just accept it. My mother is that kind of person. She likes you very much, Syoruo said with a smile. I don't know why, but seeing Syoruo's performance as usual, Kikyo couldn't be happy at all. She decided that when the time comes, all the things she received will be returned. By the way, I didn't accompany you yesterday. Why don't I go shopping with you today? Syoruo continued to ask. Don't. Kikyo refused. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 356. Syoruo didn't know why, but within a day, Kikyo changed her attitude towards herself, which was a little different from usual. Could it be that she found out that she was just an anime character? This was the first thing Syoruo thought of. Syoruo then tried Kikyo again, but Kikyo didn't give her any good looks, but Syoruo also noticed that Kikyo didn't discover the truth of her own identity. It seemed that she was just in a bad mood, and she seemed to be herself's reason. Syoruo didn't know what she did wrong at all, why Kikyo seemed to have a big opinion on herself. Could it be that, is it because my mother's purpose is too eager to scare her? Syoruo thinks it is very possible. But just when Syoruo thought that with Platinum Kikyo's character, it was impossible to take this kind of thing to heart and it would be fine in a few days, an accident happened. At noon, there were no ingredients in the kitchen, so Syoruo went out to buy some ingredients, and when he came back, the bellflowers were gone. They walked without a sound. The change of Kikyo's attitude this morning, coupled with the sudden disappearance. Syoruo vaguely sensed something was wrong. Did you say anything when Kikyo left? Syoruo asked, looking at her younger sister Xiaomang, who was alone at home at that time. Let me think about it. Xiaomang put her index finger to her mouth, and pondered for a while. Sister Kikyo didn't seem to say anything, she was sitting next to me just now. I played with my phone for a while, and it's gone, I can't find her anywhere, and the bracelet my mother gave her, the clothes and gifts I bought for her, she also left in the room. Syoruo frowned when she heard her sister's words. The way Kikyo left suddenly like this is a bit like the late Inuyasha, because he couldn't be with Inuyasha, he suddenly appeared and then disappeared suddenly. I don't know why, but when I found that the bellflower disappeared, Syoruo had such an idea in my mind. To find her? Syoruo felt that, relying on the means of hiding the breath and arranging the enchantment of the Platycodon, he might not be able to find her. Xiaomeng looked at the change in the expression on her brother's face. She was a little strange. It was fine yesterday, why did it become like this today? It looked like a girl was angry and ran away from home. Could it be that? Did the two quarrel? At this time, on a very deserted street, Kikyo was walking slowly along the street. Although there are not many people on this street, there are only a few passers-by here and there, but the passers-by who pass by all around have their eyes on her. There is no way, on the streets of Huaguo, a beauty wearing a witch costume, is really eye-catching. This witch is out of tune with everything around her, as if she has stepped out of a painting, which is unbearable to disturb. At this time, Kikyo, facing this strange modern city, also has a trace of confusion in his eyes. It seems impulsive. Where should I go now? If you want to find the way back, you have to go back and find Syoruo, but I don't want to see him now, so let's separate for a while. Just as Kikyo was walking along the road, a brown-haired girl wearing a peaked cap passed by her. The brown-haired girl was walking with earphones on her ears while playing with her mobile phone. There seemed to be some unknown tune humming in his mouth. However, after passing by Kikyo for a few seconds, the girl suddenly stopped, turned her head suddenly, and widened her eyes, as if she had discovered something extraordinary. Damn it, Kikyo! The brown-haired girl yelled excitedly. Huh? Kikyo also heard the girl's voice, turned his head with some doubts, and found that it was a girl he didn't know at all, and Kikyo had no impression of that girl at all in his mind. It's just that the shocked look in the girl's eyes when she saw her didn't look like she was pretending at all. Kikyo asked curiously. You know me? Lin Chihuyu is an anime nerd, a high school student, and a fan of rising animation, and her favorite animation is Inuyasha. Although the animations released by Rising Animation are very good, the animation Inuyasha is obviously more popular with female audiences. Compared with fighting, the sadomasochism plot in it is really unstoppable. Definitely a top anime. Although Inuyasha has been finished for a long time, she still can't help but go through it often. Among the clips of Death of Kikyo, the moment when Kikyo turns into light and disappears, I really can't help but cry every time I watch it. With the barrage, it is really easy to cry. But what she never dreamed of was that she would meet a perfect Kikyo cosplayer on the way. When she noticed that Platycodon cosplayer turned her head back, the moment she saw her face, Lin Chihuyu felt goosebumps all over her body, and the hair on her back stood up. It was difficult for Lin Chihuyu to describe that feeling. So perfect. She couldn't help but come out hum. It was like seeing Kikyo in real life. Kikyo is more difficult to cosplay, because the temperament is very difficult to imitate. Even some top-level cosplayers retouched photos, it is difficult to have the holy temperament of Kikyo's maiden. But the woman in front of her, whether it's Kikyo's hairstyle, priestess costume, or facial temperament, really has no flaws. Rather than saying that the cosplay skills are good, it is better to say that this woman is too amazing. Her beauty and temperament are very similar to Kikyo. The only difference is the difference between the second dimension and the real world, but because it is reality, this face-to-face real feeling is even more exciting, just like Kikyo has stepped out of the second dimension. So beautiful. Lin Chihuahua took off her earphones and rushed in front of Kikyo. Her expression was a little excited, her eyes seemed to be shining. She wanted to hold Kikyo's hand, but she didn't dare because of her personality. Sister, you are really beautiful. The cosplayer looks so much like the goddess Kikyo. Can I take a photo with you? Lin Chihuahua asked excitedly while holding the phone. Kikyo looked at the girl in front of her. The excitement in her eyes did not seem to be fake, but Kikyo didn't quite understand what she said. I don't seem to have seen you before, and how do you know my name? Name? I don't know my sister's name. My name was Kikyo just now. Is my sister also called Kikyo? Lin Chihuahua looked at the woman in front of her with some doubts. She didn't know why the other party asked such a question. Of course, she would not associate the cosplayer in front of her with the real Kikyo. After all, it is still too bizarre for ordinary people to see two-dimensional characters travel to reality. Kikyo frowned slightly when she heard the girl's answer in front of her, but she seemed to have noticed something, and said, "You said just now that I look a lot like Kikyo. Could it be that you know Kikyo?" Of course I know Kikyo. I've watched Inuyasha several times. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 357. Kikyo disappeared. On the top of a building with dozens of floors high, Xiaoruo appeared like a ghost, condescendingly overlooking the endless stream of cars and people. The entire modern city is running according to the same daily routine as before, going to work, leaving, get off work, shopping. And there is a priestess who just mixed into the real world. Fantasy and reality are intertwined. Xiaoruo's eyesight has surpassed the limit of human beings in the upgrades time after time, and the all-round attributes of the body are all. It is not an exaggeration to say that she is superhuman. Even on the roof of dozens of floors, Xiaoruo can still look at the faces of people on the road. With a glance, Xiaoruo remembered all the faces of passers-by in his heart. However, it is a bit too taken for granted to want to find someone in this way. Xiaoruo shook her head slowly, and said to herself, Piananthan is not here. It's strange, her breath disappeared after being traced here. Could it be that she erased her own breath on purpose, for fear of being discovered by me? Let her wander around the real world alone, and sooner or later she will discover her identity as an animated character. Although she said that Kikyo might discover her true identity, Xiaoruo didn't show any panic on her face, and her tone was very calm. With Kikyo's personality, Xiaoruo knows that even if she has powerful power, she won't cause any major troubles in the real world. Of course, with Kikyo's level of formation of barriers, it will be difficult for her to find her. Unlike other animated characters, the reason why Xiaoruo dared to accept system tasks and send invitations to animated characters to let them come to the real world was naturally because the people she invited almost didn't understand Chinese. At most they could speak Japanese English. Coming to Huaguo is almost the same as being illiterate, only ababa. They didn't arrange translation themselves, they couldn't understand anything, and with their own company, the chance of being discovered was very small. But for Kikyo, who has learned Chinese knowledge, it is really not difficult to find the truth. In Xiaoruo's mind, the scene where Kikyo was shocked when she knew she was an animation character and her true destiny suddenly appeared. Thinking of that scene, Syaruo was unexpectedly looking forward to it. In the past, Syaruo didn't let them know the truth, just to make fan works more convenient. In fact, even if they were discovered, Kikyo, sometimes. Even if you know the truth, what's the use? Nothing can be changed. Jiangsu, when you know the truth, you will still come back to me. It seems that after saying a few words to Kikyo from a distance, Syaruo disappeared on the roof of the building. Kikyo, who was about a few blocks away from Syaruo, seemed to feel something, and looked in the direction of Syaruo, frowning slightly. What's wrong? Sister? Beside Kikyo, a cute-looking brown-haired high school girl asked Kikyo. It's nothing, I just had a bad premonition. Maybe I got it wrong. Kikyo shook his head. He continued to turn his head to look at the girl who just talked to him, and asked in a soft tone. By the way, the Inuyasha you mentioned. I really haven't seen it. Can you tell me about the story of Inuyasha? The girl tilted her head. Ah. Haven't seen Inuyasha and you cosplay Kikyo? Sister, are you serious? This is too unprofessional. I really haven't seen it. How can I tell such a long plot? Let me describe it a little bit. The plot of Inuyasha is actually a story about a high school girl who traveled to the Warring States period and fell in love with a half-demon named Inuyasha, the girl said. Briefly describe the plot of Inuyasha. Kikyo's head tilted slightly, a little inexplicably. Are you in love? The girl nodded, almost. Half an hour later. In a very upscale neighborhood. Come in, this is my room, my parents are not at home these days. Lin Chuya brought the Piananthinum she met on the road to her home, and then opened the door of her room. After entering her room, she excitedly waved to the bellflower outside the door. Kikyo also walked in, and looked at the surrounding environment curiously. This is your room? Yeah, how about it, isn't it full of house flavor? Lin Chuya waved his hand and showed his room to Kikyo. This is a room that doesn't look like a girl's. There are a lot of posters of anime characters around, and there are many figures of anime characters on the cabinet beside it. It looks like an old second dimension. Of course, Kikyo doesn't understand the two-dimensional element, since entering the room, her eyes have been completely attracted by the posters on the wall. Among the posters on the wall of the girl's room, there are anime characters very similar to myself. The priestess in red and white priestess costume held a longbow with a lingering expression. Although the costumes of the maidens are the same, and the characters on the posters are also two-dimensional animated images, Kikyo can still recognize at a glance that the woman on the posters is herself. Because it is so similar. Although it is just a poster, the temperament and demeanor in it are almost exactly the same. Kikyo was subconsciously fascinated. Lin Chuya kept staring at Kikyo, she felt that she was really dreamy today. When chatting with the cosplayer sister before, Lin Chuya found that the other party seemed to be in trouble recently and had no place to live, so she was full of sympathy and took this lovely cozer lady home. Of course, it may be that this young lady is so beautiful and good-looking that she made up her mind. Girls also like to see beautiful women, and they can take pictures with each other and take many pictures. Unexpectedly, the other party agreed easily, and said that they would come back to watch Inuyasha together, and seemed very interested in the plot of Inuyasha. Going out and picking up a super beautiful cosplayer and returning home probably exists in the fantasies of nerds. Thinking of this, Lin Chuya felt a little helpless. How could he be a girl? What a loss. If he was a boy, he might die of happiness. He could start a happy daily life of cohabitation with the super cute lady witch. Thinking about it makes me a little excited. Lin Chuya suddenly realized that he might have been misled by those homeboy LSPS in his group, and his thinking had gone a little bit wrong. This is? Kikyo asked, pointing to the Maiko poster on the wall. "Oh, this is the poster of Inuyasha. It's the heroine Kikyo inside. I really convinced you. When cosplaying, even if you want an animation that the cosplayer hasn't seen, you should check who the cosplayer is," Lin Chihuahua said with a sigh. "I see," Kikyo nodded slightly, but she didn't know what she was talking about. "By the way, little girl, I have something I want to ask you," Kikyo said. "Ask what?" Lin Chihuahua asked curiously. Kikyo turned his head, put his gaze on Lin Chihuahua's eyes, and was silent for a moment. "In the story of Inuyasha, did the witch Kikyo finally die?" "You don't know about this, you're dead. This episode is super touching," Lin Chihuahua blurted out. "When the goddess Kikyo died, I also posted a lot of tears barrage." Hearing this answer, Kikyo's eyes changed slightly, but there was no expression on his face, as if he had expected it a long time ago. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 358. In the real world, Lin Chihuahua's home. "Okay, sister, you sit here and wait for me, I'll get you juice," Lin Chihuahua said, and went to the refrigerator at home to get drinks, but when she left, she looked back at the one she brought back. Campanulaceae. Obviously, I have watched it all the way, but when I look at it again, the feeling of making people feel hairy still exists. Lin Chihuahua didn't know why, but she would bring the other party to her home. It's obviously just a stranger, but fortunately, this elder sister doesn't look like a bad person, and there seems to be an inexplicable convincing power in her body, which makes people feel good about her unconsciously. After Lin Chihuahua opened the refrigerator and took out a can of drink, he unconsciously recalled the time when the two met. At that time, she was preparing to go to the gym and was walking while listening to music, when a cosplayer of Kikyo met her face to face along the street. As a result, she went up to chat for a few words and found that the other party had never watched Inuyasha. "Haven't seen Inuyasha cosplay Kikyo? And it can also cost the essence of Kikyo, which is too strange." In Lin Chihuahua's eyes, the beautiful sister who is now at home has a mysterious aura about her. And she unexpectedly had a premonition that after meeting this beautiful sister, her normal life might be broken, and she might even be involved in something extraordinary. On the other side, Kikyo doesn't plan to leave at this time, she can't wait to know the truth of this world, and Syaruo's hidden secrets. Kikyo's eyes shone with an inexplicable light. After communicating with Lin Chihuahua, Kikyo is ready to start making up. Time flies. The time for Mio world is getting closer and closer. Syaruo also stayed in the real world to make relevant preparations during this period. After all, it is the first time to hold such a large-scale event. It must be perfect and the time is tight, so Syaruo almost spent a lot of time on activities. As for Bellflower, Syaruo felt that she should be able to see it on MW. Therefore, at the venue of MW, some staff members of Mo Station were surprised to find that the son-in-law of the legendary Rising Company, the two-dimensional character Syaruo, was preparing for the event in person. In the past, about the animation character Syaruo, even the insiders like them have only heard the legend. The son of his own company got himself into the animation, but he didn't expect that he could actually see it in reality, this deity, so everyone's eyes will inevitably sweep over Syaruo's body, and some secretly take pictures. Of course, Syaruo would not care about these things. Syaruo originally thought it was a bit cumbersome to prepare for such a large-scale event, but she also unexpectedly discovered many interesting things that she hadn't noticed before. At this time, Syaruo looked at the sea of figures displayed by the staff of the cute station at the figure booth, and there was a strange light in his eyes. It was the first time Syaruo saw so many figures, and the workmanship was also good. "I took a look around and found that they were all manufactured by my own company. It seems that my father has really not been idle during this time." He picked up a very delicate figure of Emilia in a gorgeous purple dress, and couldn't help but speak. This Emilia figure is quite beautiful, the workmanship is so exquisite, how much is the price tag? Sioruo was even thinking, with such a figure, it is really eye-catching to put on the table at ordinary times, and it should sell well, so why don't you take some back with you? The male staff in charge of this area heard Sioruo's words, and immediately came up, pushed his glasses, glanced at the figure in Sioruo's hand, and said with a smile, Mr. Xia, what you are holding is Emily. The figure of the sub-crystal dress has been selling very well during this period, and the price is 2,790. Wait a minute, how much? 2,790, the staff member wearing glasses repeated, and added thoughtfully, Mengjian members can get a 10 yuan coupon for purchases, and 10% off for purchases on BW. After confirming that she heard correctly, Sioruo glanced at the figure in her hand, and the corner of her mouth twitched. This is too expensive. The staff wearing glasses smiled, not knowing what Sioruo was thinking at all, thinking that Sioruo cared about the sales of figures, so he said, Mr. Xia, your vision is really good. The ReZero series, the figure of the character is the best-selling figure of all the animation characters, even the figure of Qingyin Girl does not sell as many as ReZero. Is the sales volume of ReZero figures so good? Hearing this, Sioruo was a little surprised. After all, Light Music Girl was broadcast on TV, and there was a concert in Tianbei City. The popularity is definitely not low, and the sales of figures must be very high. It didn't come out, just a game, how could the sales be better than Qingyin? There must be something in it that I don't know. After Sioruo asked, she realized that the reason why ReZero figurines sell well is because REM's figurines sell well. According to what the staff member said, the sales of REM's figurines are crazy, and her sales alone are almost surpassing that of the Qingyin 5. This data is simply exaggerated to incredible. During this period of time, some people have cleared the holographic game of ReZero one after another, and they have experienced the core part of the plot, and REM's charm has also exploded from it. From the beginning when everyone was killed by REM and cried, to after entering the official plot, REM is my wife, if true love has a color, it must be blue. People who played ReZero were almost captured by REM in the end. The image of REM wearing a maid outfit has completely become a two-dimensional national wife, and even became a hot search. There may be a new wife to replace REM after a while, but in the past few months, REM's popularity has surpassed that of the heroine in the previous Rising animation. At the same time, Rise naturally produced a large number of REM figures for sale, and the various types are dazzling, far exceeding other characters, such as normal maid outfits, crystal dresses, bunny girl costumes, wedding dresses, swimsuits, Subaru Natsuki's t-shirt, blah blah blah. The designer is such an old gentleman that he can even design a figure of REM wearing Amelia's coat. Sioruo took a look at the price of REM's figure. Yes, it is more expensive than the price of Amelia's figure. There are many kinds of price exceeding 10,000. Sioruo is a little speechless. What is this figure? Gold machine. Looking at the dazzling array of exquisite two-dimensional female figures on the figure booth, Sioruo sighed and said to the staff next to her. For the figures exhibited on MW, except for the men's figures, I will prepare a copy of all the figures, and then ship them to my home, and I will transfer the money to you. Sioruo is not a fan of figurines, but these figurines are so beautiful. Seeing so many exquisite figurines put together, Sioruo still couldn't hold back. Yes, Mr. Xia, I'll prepare right away. The glasses staff in charge responded immediately. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 359. After that, Sioruo asked about the prices of the other types of figures. The cheapest ones start at 3 digits, and there are quite a few figures in the tens of thousands. Although Sioruo knew that the figure was not cheap. However, the figures sold by Rise are generally much higher than the figures that Sioruo knows. It is conceivable how much Rise can earn from them, and these figures do not need to pay copyright fees. Xiaoruo thought it was amazing. Dad's conscience is really darkened. The point is that the sales of these figures are not bad, but they are outrageous. Rem's best-selling figures can sell tens of thousands of pieces. This is not how money is earned in the second dimension. Xiaoruo is not some unscrupulous businessman, she used to be an ordinary person who chased and sold the surrounding area together. Seeing the unscrupulous hand-figure businessman like rising, Xiaoruo was still subconsciously indignant, and used the name of the anime wife to harvest the money of the second dimension. The unscrupulous businessman, even if he is hanging from a street lamp. Oh, the figure is sold by my own house. That's fine. Xiaoruo shook his head. He didn't really care about making money, but he felt that Rise is a bit dark now, and the high price is not good for Rise and Mingjin's reputation. I need to talk to my dad when I get back home. No matter how you say it, I need to discount more. You can't make money too darkly, and your reputation can't be ruined. Because of the previous release of virtual helmets, using virtual helmets to make money now is similar to printing money, and there is no need to completely become a business that is only for profit. Rather than making money, Xiaoruo wants to give more benefits to brothers who also like the second dimension. At least it must be something that everyone can buy. Not only that, but Xiaoruo has bigger ideas. Tianbei City does not have any powerful pillar industries, nor does it have any high-tech companies. The level of development is even lower than that of the domestic first-tier cities. The per capita consumption and housing prices are not high. The only advantage is that it has a long history. Tianbei City is an ancient capital. In the past, the main focus was on the theme of tourist cities, but now it has its own characteristics of otaku culture, and naturally it has received official support. Now, because of the rise of the headquarters in Tianbei City, coupled with the special official promotion, light music concerts, virtual helmets, and other products that break the circle, Tianbei City has the most prosperous otaku culture in China. Even some citizens who don't like the two-dimensional culture have a general understanding of what the two-dimensional culture is, not to mention the number of manga exhibitions in Tianbei City, and the number of mansion streets such as maid cafes has increased. There is a trend of a sacred place of Chinese house culture. If things go on like this, it might become the holy land of otaku culture in the world. Of course, it will take a long time to accomplish this goal, and Xiaoruo needs to produce a lot of masterpieces such as animation games to slowly accumulate fame, otherwise it will be far away. In other words, there can be an explosive point that detonates the two-dimensional circle in Tianbei City. Time flies and there is only one day left until MW starts. In Lin Chui's home, the witch Kikyo is currently living here temporarily. Although she has no money, the owner of the house still warmly entertains her. From Lin Chui's room full of figures from the factory, it can be seen that Lin Chui's family background is quite good. After knowing that Kikyo is homeless, Lin Chui today is equivalent to raising Kikyo. The otaku raised a beautiful witch Kozer, which is quite reasonable to be honest. During these days, Kikyo stayed here all night, almost without wasting any time. She completed all the animations of Rising, and even played the game once. After watching the animation of Inuyasha, she probably understood what she is. Condition. Or the character Kikyo, is actually a character in the animation. In the animation Inuyasha, it is just a dead character who was cremated within 3 minutes of appearance. To be honest, when I realized this point, even Kikyo felt a bit of bewildered emotion in his heart. Is my own world actually fake? I am also a fake, an animation created by people in this world, and my own destiny is also given by other humans. Kikyo wanted to deny it at first, thinking that her world was real. Xiaoruo traveled to her own world, recorded everything in her own world, and then made it into an animation, but soon, Kikyo knew what she was thinking but wishful thinking. The truths in the plot of Inuyasha are too real, the details of the content are so complete, and there are all kinds of secrets that I don't even know, which are not understood by bystanders at all. Moreover, the plots of the animation are all about my own world, what happened 50 years later, and even I will like Inuyasha in the future. Kikyo has never even heard who Inuyasha is. Rather, it directly shows the future of the world in which you live. With the truth in front of him, Kikyo has to accept the fact that he is a virtual character even if he is helpless. However, Kikyo fell into thinking again. Everything in the past has become illusory, what should I do in the future? Knowing that she is a virtual character created by others, the witch Kikyo has always felt that she has a mission, and her mentality has also undergone an inexplicable change. She is a little dazed and relieved. Perhaps, I should go to Syaruo to have a good chat. Kikyo has not forgotten that I still have the invitation letter from MW. Just as Kikyo was contemplating, a sudden voice came in from outside. Damn it! Why is my face so dark? I smoked this garbage again, can I still play this shitty game? Ah, I want to become a European too, I don't want to be a chief. This voice brought Kikyo back to reality. Kikyo turned her head, and saw Lin Chihuahua walking in with a depressed face. This reaction Kikyo has seen many times these days, that child seems to be playing some kind of game, but Kikyo doesn't know what game to play to make her face black every day. What's the matter, is it because the game can't be cleared? Kikyo has been immersed in the otaku culture these days, and still has some understanding of some games. No, it's a card game. It seems that I've been an African all my life. Lin Chihuahua's tone was a little gritted and helpless. Kikyo had a good impression of this child, so she said softly, how about, let me smoke it for you. When Lin Chihuahua heard Kikyo's words, without saying a word, he handed over the mobile phone and pointed to the card drawing icon. Big sister, just click here. Lin Chihuahua has always felt that the big sister in front of her is very mysterious, and she always seems to be shrouded in some halo, and she also wants to try it out, whether it is a problem with the game or her own problem, so she stares at the phone, looking at the platycodon what can be drawn. Kikyo looked at the position of Lin Chihuahua's finger, stretched out his white finger, and tapped it lightly. Brush. Very abrupt. A dazzling golden light shone from the phone screen, almost blinding Lin Chihuahua's eyes. Golden Legend. This is, SSR. Lin Chihuahua's voice became excited. Unexpectedly, the goods were shipped as soon as they were sent. However, what shocked her was still behind. Brush, 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 brush. A total of 10 golden lights directly shattered Lin Chihuahua's 3 views. SSR, 10th Company. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumia. Chapter 360. SSR, 10th Company. Lin Chihuahua didn't know how many times she yelled, the image of a lady in the past has been shattered, and the way she looks at Kikyo has changed, it is the look of eagerness when she sees some treasure. Suck. Suck. Suck, Oyuchi will give me 1,000,000 points. Lin Chihuahua pressed against the body of Kikyo and sucked violently. If she was a boy, such a scene would be really unsightly. What is Oyuchi? Kikyo was sucked by her for a while, and looked at her a little puzzled. Uki is luck, big sister, why is your luck so good? I've never heard of SSR 10 times, Lin Chihuahua asked while breathing in. At this moment, she just felt that the difference between people is more. There is a big difference between humans and dogs, and my bad luck is terrible, but the eldest sister in my family is the legendary Oyu Huang. Luck, that's it? Kikyo looked Lin Chihuahua up and down, as if he had noticed something, then touched her head with his hand. A special aura flashed from Kikyo's hand, and penetrated into Lin Chihuahua's body. Huh. The moment Lin Chui was touched by the bellflower, he suddenly felt a trace of cold and refreshing breath entering his body, as if his body suddenly became lighter. This feeling was very slight, but Lin Chui still felt it. You can try drawing cards again now, maybe there will be different results. Kikyo withdrew her hand and said. Draw it again, okay, I'll draw it again. Although he didn't understand what Kikyo did, Lin Chui still chose to believe in Kikyo, and made another stroke. There was a round of 10 consecutive draws, but it was different from the past. Lin Chui drew the card in an instant. There was a special premonition, as if good luck would come. Brush. Gold glitters. This time, something that shocked Lin Chui happened. Although it was not as exaggerated as the 10 consecutive SSRS, but she was a non-chief in the past, and she had never even seen Jingguang, but this time she actually got 2 SSRS. When will she have such luck in the old African chief? Big sister, what did you do just now? Lin Chui's eyes widened in shock. Could it be that he just took a few breaths of European air, and then was patted on the head by the Emperor of Europe, and then he got out of Africa and entered Europe? This is the strength of Oyu Huang? Kikyo felt that the child's reaction in front of her was very interesting, but she just shook her head with a chuckle and didn't speak. Exorcising evil, and evil is the basic skill of a shrine maiden. Just now Kikyo just helped her get rid of the bad luck on her body. For Kikyo, who has the power to destroy evil, getting rid of bad luck is really not worth mentioning. Although it was a small spell for her, it was different for Lin Chui. At this time, she looked at Kikyo's hand with fiery eyes, wishing to nibble a few bites hard. In her eyes, that is no longer an ordinary hand, but a holy hand that can get out of Africa and into Europe. Kikyo ignored Lin Chui's fiery eyes, and finally got down to business. Chui, I may need your help with something. Can you take me to the exhibition center where MW is held tomorrow? I need to find someone there. When Lin Chui heard that Kikyo wanted to go to MW, his eyes suddenly lit up. Go to MW, okay, I plan to go too, but MW tickets are sold out long ago. I didn't grab them, but it doesn't matter. Let's go early tomorrow morning. There must be scalpers selling tickets at the gate of MW, buy them then just 2 more. Lin Chui originally planned to take Kikyo with her, and she has bought all her cosplay clothes. Tickets. Kikyo hesitated for a moment, then took out the red invitation letter Sioruo gave her from her arms. Is it this one? This is. Lin Chui took the invitation letter from Kikyo, a little dazed. It was a very beautiful invitation letter. Invitation letter from MW. Wait a moment. When did MW have an invitation letter? Lin Chui is more concerned about MW, but only heard that there are 2 kinds of VIP tickets and regular tickets, and has never heard of such a thing as an invitation letter. Lin Chui turned the invitation letter up and down twice. No matter how you look at it, it is also consistent with MW tickets not on. She even searched the internet, but there was no information about the invitation letter, and there was no discussion. She thought that the invitation letter was either fake, or ordinary people could not receive such things at all. Lin Chui raised his head to look at Kikyo, and asked curiously, Big sister, who sent you this invitation letter? Kikyo thought for a moment, and felt that there was nothing to hide, so she said, my friend gave it to me. You should have heard of him. His name is Sioruo. Sioruo? Sioruo, an animated character who can travel through time? The rising prince of animation? Hiss. Lin Chui gasped. She suddenly felt that she might have found a treasure. At the same time, as the MW date approached, there were more guests from Fantasyland. Sioruo's younger sister, Xiameng, just bought some snacks for Tom and was about to go home. When she was about to enter the community, she found a lot of people around the gate of her community. The place that should be very clean is now surrounded by people. Surrounded by a circle, Xiameng came over to watch the excitement. From a long distance, she noticed that there seemed to be a few guys in strange clothes who were stopped by the security guards at the gate of the community, and the surrounding people were all looking at them and taking pictures. A total of 4 people were stopped, 3 women and 1 man. The leader is a young man who doesn't look very old, but looks a bit fierce. Judging from his appearance, he is probably still in high school. Although this man looks a bit fierce, he is dressed normally, but the 3 there is something wrong with the clothes of a female. 2 short-haired twins wearing the same maid outfit, one with pink hair and the other with blue hair. I don't know if it's a wig or dyed. In addition, there is a girl with silver hair and a white dress who looks like an elf. At this time, the leading man seemed to be talking to the security guard, but Xiamen noticed that the male high school student seemed to be speaking in Japanese, which the security guard could not understand at all, and the two were not talking on the same channel at all. Noticing this, Xiamen sensed something was wrong. Speaking Japanese, wearing fancy clothes, beautiful girls. With these 3 distinctive signs, Xiamen dared to bet Tom Snacks for the next year that these guys must be looking for her brother. 486, didn't you say that this is the world where your hometown is? Why is it so difficult to even communicate? I thought you would be useful, but I didn't expect you to be so incompetent, the pink-haired maid complained expressionlessly. I've said it all, this is the country of Hua, and my hometown is in Japan. These are 2 countries at all. The man with a fierce expression defended weakly. The ones stopped by the security guard at this moment are Ram, Emilia, and Subaru Natsuki in ReZero. They were also sent to the real world by the invitation letter, and guided by the invitation letter, they came to here. 486, what should we do now? The guards here won't let us in, and we can't get in touch with Subaru, Emilia asked from the side. Now there are more and more people watching, and people taking pictures are also more up. Keiyo Subaru picked up the invitation letter and looked at it. There is Subaru's phone number on the invitation letter, but my mobile phone is out of charge, so I will ask people around me to borrow a mobile phone to call him, so that he'll come get us. Rem, on the other hand, stood quietly by the side without saying a word. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 361. Ram still had some doubts about this world. Looking at the crowd gathered around him, he approached Subaru Natsuki and whispered, 486, why were those people outside looking at us just now, and holding a strange board in their hands? Against us. Naoki Subaru is a modern person, so he naturally knows why, so he explained. The costumes you wear are too weird. No one here walks around in maid outfits like you, but they should treat you as cosplay. What they hold in their hands is a magic called a mobile phone. Props can record our appearance, which is quite a normal thing in our world. After coming to this world, Ram and Emilia are both from another world, and they all rely on Natsuki Subaru as their guide. Then we won't be arrested, after all, we are not from this world, Emilia asked worriedly, and suddenly came to a strange world. Even Emilia felt a little uneasy in her heart. It made him more dependent on Natsuki Subaru. Keiyo Subaru shook his head, it's okay, if everyone behaves normally, there is no big problem, as long as we find Subaru as soon as possible. Why did this broken invitation suddenly become a teleportation circle and bring us here? Not even prepared, Subaru is really cheating. At this time, Natsuki Subaru thought of something again, and quickly added. By the way, you must remember the most important point. In our world, ordinary people don't know magic. Don't release any magic such as ice cubes or wind blades. As long as you use magic, you will definitely be caught as an alien. Just ask me if you don't understand anything here, don't be surprised. It's okay, if there is any danger, Ram will definitely protect the safety of Lady Emilia and sister. Ram put her hands on the hem of her skirt and said in a low voice. Take out the location of the meteor hammer at any time. Rem, take your hands away, the maids here don't know how to use meteor hammers. Please don't cause trouble, I really beg you, and if you do this, you will also cause trouble for Syaruo, Naosubaru pleaded with a very sincere tone, and he suddenly realized that bringing these people from another world to modern times is really a very troublesome thing. Hearing that Syaruo might cause trouble, Rem was silent for a moment, and withdrew his hand on the hem of the skirt. Rem understands. 486, your hometown is really amazing. It's completely different from ours. There are many things you haven't seen before, Emilia said in admiration, looking around. Of course, our food here is also very delicious. It's a pity that I don't have any money with me. Otherwise, I will take you to have a good meal of Chinese food. No, when I see Syaruo, let him treat him and kill him, Caiu said. Subaru talked about modern society with pride. In Natsuki Subaru's view, modern society is at least 10,000 times better than that other world where death and dismemberment occur at every turn. Around the fore of Naosubaru, the onlookers chatted and took pictures. Wow, W starts tomorrow, they should be the cosplayers who are going to participate in the event. It's a perfect cosplay. Rem is really beautiful. Where did this cosplay come from? The quality is too high. It's great, Emilia, and Natsuki Subaru's cosplay is also similar. It's a pity that there are too few tickets for MW, I didn't get it, otherwise MW must go see it once. Xiaomeng also heard the words of the onlookers. Although she couldn't hear them very clearly, she probably heard the words W. She thought these people were familiar before, and they seemed to be animation characters that looked like them occasionally on the internet. So it's cosplay. Thinking of this, Xiaomeng didn't hesitate anymore, and walked up to Naosubaru and the others. Hello, may I help you? Xiaomeng speaks pure Japanese. She had studied with Maple for a long time when she was playing games. Xiaomeng's daily communication is not too difficult now. Naosubaru and the others were thinking about what to do next because of a language barrier, when suddenly a cute little girl came up to strike up a conversation, and she still spoke Japanese, so they immediately focused on Xiaomeng. Hello, you can speak Japanese, great, I finally found someone who can communicate, can I trouble you, we are here to find someone. Naosubaru spoke excitedly, then showed Xiaomeng the invitation letter, and described Syaruo's appearance. As soon as Xiaomeng heard the description of the person in front of him, she immediately knew that she had guessed correctly. These people were looking for her elder brother. Xiaomeng glanced lightly at the three girls behind Naosubaru. The beautiful girl in Japan doesn't know where her brother has such good luck. But fortunately, there are still men this time, otherwise Xiaomeng would be thinking about whether she should call the police. You are looking for my brother, Xiaomeng stroked her forehead and said to the four of them. Your brother? Naosubaru and the others were a little surprised, and even Rem, who had been calm all the time, glanced up and down at Xiaomeng several times, as if he didn't expect that he and others were so lucky to meet Syaruo's sister when they first arrived. Well, there are many people here, I'll take you back first, then follow me, Xiaomeng began to lead the way. Thank you so much. Everyone thanked them, and then followed Xiaomeng. With Xiaomeng around, they all entered the community smoothly. However, on the way home, Xiaomeng still couldn't hold back and asked them some questions. I don't know how you guys met my brother? My brother often has friends from Japan. Ah, that. Naosubaru noticed that Syaruo's sister seemed to be ignorant, but he was very clever, so he hinted to Emilia and others with his eyes to stop talking, and then he leaned forward, haha, Syaruo and we were in Japan at the time. We met at a comic exhibition, we hit it off right away, and then became friends, and this time we were also invited to participate in the MW event. Naosubaru can only say this, how else can he say that he traveled through time, and then met Xiaoruo in another world? Oh, so that's the case. Xiaomeng nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Although there is nothing wrong with what the other party said, Xiaomeng always felt that the people behind her had an unexplainable weird feeling, but she didn't know what was wrong. But Xiaomeng felt that when she brought those girls back, there might be some I can watch a good show. Sure enough, when Xiaomeng brought Kaiosubaru and others home, Xiaoruo's mother saw those girls in strange clothes, with colorful hair, and their faces turned black.